Hi Forster fans, I'm Paityn Tabor. I'm a junior here at the college. I'm doing the Coaches Show with Coach Kat, where we sit down every week and talk about last week's game and the upcoming one. This week we're going to talk about the upcoming game against Knox. So here it is. Coach, first off, congrats on the win and being 2-0. That's so exciting. First thing I want to ask you is last week you mentioned that you wanted to see an improvement from game 1 to game 2. And so last week your team racked up 620 yards of total offense, which is the 4th highest yardage output in school history. Is that the type of improvement you were looking for? And what were the main factors that led to that?
Yeah, we did see some improvements. There were some things that I think offensively we were actually probably even a little bit more balanced than we were the week before. We were able to get our screen game going a little bit. We had a really successful 2-minute drill down the first half, which is something we've been working on in practice. So I think there was definitely improvement. The run game was a little bit more hit or miss. We were hitting big runs, not necessarily 5, 7, 10-yard runs. We were hitting a couple 2-yard run, then we'd pop a 40-yard run. And so that was definitely a positive for us. I thought we were consistent. I mean, we had a couple of 10-plus play drives, and so whenever you're doing that offensively, that's good. Defensively, we were much better against the run. I mean, we held them to negative yards rushing, which when you do that in the course of a game, that's pretty good. And the week before, we'd kind of gotten gashed with draws and some other things, and so I thought our defense responded well there. There's obviously a lot of room for improvement still, though.
You mentioned that 2-minute drill at the end of the half. You ended up ending the half with a 26-yard field goal, and you started off the half with an 84-yard kick return for a touchdown. That's some pretty special things on special teams, but you did give up a kick return for a touchdown. So what kind of things do you want to get done on special teams to kind of improve those rocky parts?
Yeah, we were definitely special, and special, good and bad on Saturday. That opening kickoff by Kobe Marion, there was a great block by J.R. Henderson as the off returner to really spring that. I thought our return team did a great job setting the tone for the entire game. Logan Person as a punter was tremendous again, averaged about 45 yards a punt, putting him inside their 15-yard line, I think, on 2 different occasions. We just really, on kickoff coverage, weren't as strong as I'm used to us being. And then we had a couple of errors, muffing a punt that had us have the ball on the 1-yard line. And then we actually fumbled and turned over a kick return. And so some of those things I think were just lack of focus, and we got to make sure that we don't kind of get into a lull in the middle of the game on special teams. The other thing that's kind of disappointing is we had some substitution errors where we actually played one of our special teams plays with 9 players instead of 11. Now, it didn't end up coming back to really hurt us, but the fact that happened was just a sideline management issue that we need to fix as coaches and players, and just stay disciplined. Those little things of getting into a huddle, getting accounted for, and then going back out, and not making some decisions without talking to coaches of needing fatigue or breaks or things like that. So our special teams will continue to be an area of emphasis. We really, for who we've been the last couple of years, when you go into season, you lead the nation in blocked kicks as well as returns for touchdowns, and you've kind of played how we have the first 2 games. It's actually really surprising. Usually we're much better out the gate in special teams. We got to be better.
Yeah, apart from those improvements, last week you mentioned that you wanted to start the game off fast, and with that initial kick return for a touchdown, is that what you meant? How do you think that kind of got the team going for the rest of the game?
I think it was a huge emotional release for us. I think that we came into the game extremely focused, extremely intent on playing at a high level. And I think that, Coach Dodd, who actually gave the Friday night talked about winning early and winning decisively. And I think that first play was just really special for our guys to do that. Then we kind of had a little bit of a lull, but then we had a couple of nice big offensive drives, a 99-yard offensive drive for a touchdown. And the defense had a couple of quick 3-and-outs. And we were on pace to go up 21-0 and be in a great spot. And then we got a play call communication issue that led to an interception. And then they got their first points. And then we answered back and we were able to get back up on top. But we never put them away until the second half. And I think that we could have done that earlier in the game and just failed to do so. But I think that we saw that opening kick was really an emotional release for our guys. And I think that was pretty important for us to have.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I've asked you about offense, special teams. I want to pivot now to defense. Last week we talked about keeping Lawrence's quarterback DeAndre Weaver held in check, and because he had that 340-yard gain and 4 touchdowns in their Week 1 victory. But on Saturday, he only completed 55% of his passes. How was the defense able to do that?
Yeah, I think we had him under duress quite a bit. I think when we finally did our stat tally, he got hit 28 times on pass plays. And when your defense, I think we ended up with like 4 sacks or 5 sacks. But I think the fact that probably our defensive player of the game was Alex Bendler. And Alex didn't record one of those sacks, but I think he hit DeAndre probably 6 times. And so he was just on the cusp of it almost every time. And I think that the fact that our defensive line was able to do that with just the 4-man pressure and not having to bring blitzes and stuff like that to do it really set the tone for our defense. And then, like I said, they did that without being exposed in the run game because we held them to negative yards rushing. And DeAndre is that kind of kid that can get out and extend plays and run around. And we didn't provide him that opportunity on Saturday. So he still was able to get a couple of touchdown passes and throw for 270 yards or whatever it was. But I felt very good about what our defense did in the game overall.
You touched on this a little bit, but we discussed last week wanting the tackling to improve from game 1 to game 2. And in this game, we had, I think, 9 players with TFLs. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, we were triggering a lot faster to the ball, and I thought that was really important. And when we got there, we didn't there's a teaching technique called fast, slow, fast in the open field tackling. And we were kind of getting stuck with fast, slow, wrap up, and we weren't getting the fast part after. I thought this week you saw a lot more explosiveness through that controlled stage and then exploding into a guy, and that was getting us better tackling form. Was also really good in tackling in open space. I think the one area where we didn't tackle really well was on special teams, which is why you had a kick return for a touchdown. We had 4 missed tackles on that play. And so we have to apply it in all different phases, but I thought our defense did tackle much better. And I thought the production demonstrated it.
Yeah. Let's will you preview Knox for me, Coach? They lost a tough one against Ripon last week, 20-14, and now we're going to be on the road against the conference opponent. And so what are your main concerns going into this game?
Yeah, so for the second week in a row, or I guess the third week in a row, we're going to see a brand new coach who's not, they're going to be any Coach Willett's second game coaching at Knox. And we know they're going to make a big improvement from week 1 to week 2, just like we did last week. And they didn't get to play their first week game due to COVID restrictions at their opponent's campus. And so for us, we're going to see a very different type of offense. They're a triple option based offense, so there's going to be a lot more run game going on, less in the pass game. They have a ton of talent. They've got a lot of speed on offense. One of their running backs, Derek Jackson, was the conference champion in the 100-yard dash last year and was one of the national top 10 in the nation in the 100-yard dash. So we know getting him out in space is going to be a foot race that we don't necessarily want to get into. But they, they're really starting to find out who they are as a team with the new coaching staff. And I think that's going to present some challenges for us with their offense. On defense, they've got 2 individuals in particular who just really pop on tape. Ian Rao, who's number 25, who's their middle linebacker, and then their overhang player, safety number 7, who's really just a talented young man from Effingham High School in Central Illinois. And those 2 guys pop. Like, you see them making plays on film, and that doesn't even talk about the guy who had 2.5 sacks on Saturday, Guteneck, number 31. So they've got talent on defense that we're going to have to account for on offense, and they do some things there that will be similar to what we've seen in the previous 2 weeks, but they also do some different fronts that we have not seen. And so for our offensive line, they've really got to prepare for that 5-man front and some different things they'll see.
So what do you think are our keys that we need to hit to win on Saturday?
Yeah, you're probably going to hear me say this every week. We've got to run the football well. And if we can get Armani and Damon and Christian and a couple of those other running backs going early, that'll be really, really telltale for us. We've got to be better on special teams. We can't give up field position. We can't give up possessions like we did this past week. And I think that, we got kind of lucky on Saturday. When JR fumbled the kick return, the very next play, Dante got an interception. So we didn't truly lose a possession. But I think that, for us, we got to travel well. This is going to be a little bit longer trip. It's probably the longest day trip that we have. Get down there, be ready to go. They have a great home environment at the Nosher Bowl there where it's kind of set down into the hill. And I think that we've just got to travel well. Our guys have had the short trip up to Milwaukee, and I think that we saw that we didn't travel as well as we needed to and had the slow start. And I think that now we have to, turn that around at Knox and realize that we've learned our lesson from the first week.
Yeah. So what are you going to continue to stress to your guys to kind of focus on the task at hand, which is beating Knox?
Yeah, I mean, it's that 1-0 mentality. We talk about it's improving every week, like we talk about with our Kaizen mentality. that if we can do that and build off what we did last week, that's what we have to do. It's not a rebuild, it's not a restart, it's building off what we've already done, but realizing that we can't take a day off from the building process. We have to keep moving that forward. I think our guys have done a great job of doing, some things and maintaining their health and getting, treatment and things like that. And they have to continue in every aspect of just really every single day putting something into play that makes us better the next day.
Got it. Well, that's kind of all I have for you, so that wraps up today's show. But best of luck this week against Knox, and I look forward to visiting with you next week after another Forester victory. Go Foresters!